again, is a delicate balance between having that entrepreneurial spirit, yet following the systems and
Right,
processes, following the rules of
right.
how you set up as your brand. And I'm going to venture to say that now that you have 40 franchises that are open, it's going to look slightly different when you're at 100, because some of those folks that were risk averse at 20 or 30, when you get to 100, are going to say, Amy, I want in now.
Right. Let's
That's,
hope.
yeah, that just seems what happens in franchising. Well, it's also the
Yeah,
same reason why you have your first dozen franchisees. They were more risk takers, right? They were a little more entrepreneurial.
absolutely.
That's just the nature of the beast. So yeah,
Absolutely.
you'll see culturally it'll start to shift in a bit.
I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a fun part of an emerging brand is
Totally.
having these new owners come on board. And yes, we are a young brand, but you also have more of a say in an emerging brand. And I think that's an exciting part too. And that's why bringing on these new owners, it's so critical that we get the right owners coming in early on, because they all are leaving a bit of a blueprint on our system as a whole. And I think that's pretty exciting. And they all have we're very collaborative. Like, we make sure that everyone speaks up and has say and has some thoughts and some ideas. And we've had some owners come with just some tweaks on like marketing or a tweak on a service or something that is great, because all it does is strengthen us as a whole, as a brand. So I like that part of the emerging brand. I think that's a lot of fun.
I think it's the most exciting time period, and that's why I'm doing this
Mhm.
podcast
I know. I
specifically for
love
this
that you
time
do
period.
that.
I love the time period of emerging. It's just fun. It's
Mhm.
exhilarating. It's scary at times, but it's not boring.
It's never
It's
boring.
never
Never.
boring.
And
uh,
it's a special time. I think I always relate things back to clients, and I think of Ashburn. I think of those early days, and I always tell the story. Literally on day one, Leslie and I walked one dog for $10. That is how we started,
Sweet.
and I remember it like it was yesterday. Cody and Lucky, sweetest dogs, and I remember that feeling, that excitement of working with these new customers, and every time a new customer came on board, how exciting it was. But I fast forward to 20 years, and you still feel that same love of what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I really want that for our franchisees as well, whether we're at 40, whether we're at 100. It's really important. I know things will change a little bit. Obviously, it has to as you scale to that level,
Sure.
but having that relationship and that excitement anytime you have a new owner coming on board, I can't see ever losing that. I
Yeah.
just can't. It's too personal.
What about your role? How has your role changed since becoming part of Authority Brands?
I wear many hats. I would say my biggest responsibility is playing a role in bringing on new owners so
Mhm.
that we can grow the brand. I'm always looking at key partnerships. We have a national partnership with the Farmer's Dog. We have a couple more that are coming out very soon. Another one was with Pet Vet Connection for 24/7 vet telehealth services. I think that's really important. Anything that we can do to help elevate the brand, help our owners be more successful, help our owners have more services and more value that they can provide for their clients. That is a role that I take very, very seriously. So that's a big piece of my role, is working with the operations team, the marketing team. How do we bring more incredible owners on board? How do we better support them? How do we have more resources? Technology is always changing, making sure we're staying up on that. How do we make our owners more efficient, more profitable? Those are, as you know, having a franchise, I mean, there's just so many different
Sure.
hats that you have to wear. But at the end of the day, it is all about those franchisees.
On the flip side, relating to your industry itself, are there any trends or anything you want to share? What's changing right now in the pet industry?
We're definitely seeing a bit of more of a crowded space. You're definitely seeing more competitors coming into the market.
Okay.
Even just from when I started franchising back in 2019, we're definitely seeing some more people getting on the pet space train. So
Mm-hmm.
always keeping an eye on that. You can never get complacent. I think you always have to keep your brand very fresh. You have to stay very current of trends. We were, and to this we still are, but I love that we are the first to be the first franchise system combining the pet sitting, dog walking, and mobile grooming. I think that is a trend that you do see in the pet space where it's based on that relationship. How else can you, as the business owner, provide more value for your clients? What other services can you provide for their pets because you have that established relationship? So I definitely see that as a trend that's continuing on in the pet space. I think there's so many different directions you can ultimately go in because people love their pets. That's not going away. The industry is growing exponentially and continues to. It's not a fad. It's not something that you're going to have a dip. It is just pets are here to stay, thank goodness. And
Absolutely.
For us, it's how else do we provide more value to those pet parents?
Okay. What about for you? What's your long-term vision of the company?
I would love to see Woofies all over the country, which we're getting there.
You are getting there.
We are getting there. I want Woofies to be that premium pet services company. I want to be that company that people want to come work for us. They want to build a career with us. And a lot of people don't know you can have a career in the pet space. They just think, oh, it's just dog walking or grooming. You can have an incredible career in the pet space. And I want to attract those types of people who want to come and work for one of our Woofie's locations and love what they do and have a career path, whether you're starting as a pet sitter and you become a groomer, or you come work in a back office, or you become a general manager, or you go open your own franchise. I think there's so many opportunities. So I want us to be that company that people want to come work for. I want to be that company that business owners want to come build their own Woofies. And I want consumers want to use Woofie's services because it's a trusted brand, it's a trusted name, and they know what they're going to get regardless of what location that they're in. They know when they have Woofie's, it's going to be that highly localized, personalized service.
What do you think in terms of your business? Is there a challenge that your franchisees face that are unique, and how do you help them overcome it?
I think probably most businesses, if you were asked that question, I would say labor. I think that's universal.
It's always people.
And especially with us on the grooming side, because it is such a specialized skill, that is something that we've had our eye on from the very beginning. And actually, when you look at COVID, when we went through COVID, we had just started franchising. We had a whole bunch of pet sitters that all of a sudden in those early months didn't have any work. And that's actually when we started our grooming school, because there was such a demand for grooming, and especially mobile grooming, because we were able to stay open when the brick and mortars were not able to during COVID. And there's such a demand for grooming. I mean, think of every dog's a doodle mix these days, and dogs need their ongoing grooming. And even if they're short hair like labs, they need those bath services and the nails trim and the ears clean and the teeth brush. So we really focused on building up a grooming school, which Tanya has now taken over in Ashburn, which is fantastic, but building our own pool of groomers. So that's really what we're trying to do for our franchisees. And how do we scale that at a higher level? How do we create more groomers that are trained from the very beginning on not only how to be a great groomer and all the skills that you need, but to have the business acumen and the customer service skills, all the soft skills that are needed to be a really great groomer? And how do we scale that so that we can have more groomers coming into the Woofie's franchise system? And that's the biggest thing, I think, is meeting the demand for groomers, is helping create more groomers. And that's something that we're working closely with Tanya. She's building up that grooming school in Ashburn, but then how do we replicate that throughout the country? Because all of our franchisees need more groomers.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.